Have you ever had the winning move ready, but your own piece was standing in the way? Today, I've got 6 real game positions where clearance decides the game. Clearance is simple. One piece moves away, so another piece can use the square, file, rank, or diagonal. Let's start with position 1. Position 1, it's white to play, and black has just made a blunder. And here, in this position, white played rook to h5. At first, this looks like white is sacrificing a rook, but the real point is clearance. White's rook is standing on g5, but queen wants to come to g5 with checkmate. So, white moves the rook with the check. And here, king is having no escape square. So, the only option black is having is to capture the rook with bishop, and this is what he played in the game. And now white simply finished the game with queen to g5 checkmate. The rook did not move because it was escaping. It moved because the queen needed the g5 square. This came from the Louis versus Alexander from London 1834. That is the pattern we are studying today. One piece leaves, another piece enters, the game ends. Hello everyone, I'm Aniket, an Arena International Master, and this is Chess Tactics episode 17. Clearance means moving one of your own pieces away so another piece can use that square, file, rank, or diagonal. Sometimes the clearing move is quiet, sometimes it's a sacrifice, and sometimes it looks completely crazy until you understand which square was being cleared. In practical games, look for this when your queen, rook, bishop, knight, or pawn wants to enter but your own piece is blocking the way. Let's understand this with a simple example. So here we got this position where white is completely winning. But white has to find the clearance idea. And here white does not want black to have this pawn on d4. Because if white is able to remove this pawn, it will be simple pin and white will be able to win the queen and eventually the game. So that is why in this position, white continue the game with rook takes d4, simply sacrificing the rook. And the whole point is if black does nothing, he's gonna lose a queen. And if black takes the rook, which he did, so the queen takes d4, and the whole point was rook to d1. And that's it. He lost a queen. So black played queen takes d1 check, queen takes d1, and now white can simply win the game. If you enjoy practical chess tactics, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's test the same idea in 5 more real game positions. Position 2, it's black to play, find the move that clears the promotion square. Pause the video here. This came from Wely versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov from 2004. Mamedyarov is known for sharp tactical play, and this finish is a clean example. And here, the move is knight to f3 check. At first, this looks like a normal check, but the deeper point is clearance. Black has a pawn on g2, that pawn wants to promote on g1. So black moves the knight away with check. After knight f3 check, white simply resign the game. Point is very simple. When bishop takes f3 will happen, then black can simply play g1 queen. The promotion square is free, and that is why white resigned. This is a very useful practical pattern. When your pawn is ready to promote, do not only ask, can I push? Also ask, is my own piece blocking the promotion square? Here, the knight clears g1 and the pawn becomes queen. Let's move to the next one. Position 3, it's white to play. Here, the tactic works because the knight moves away and clears a square for the queen. This came from Garry Kasparov versus Evgeny from 2001. This was a rapid game and Kasparov's attack was already dangerous. And here, Kasparov played knight b7 check, simply sacrificing the knight. But the main point is not only the check. The knight was standing on f6, but white wants to have the queen on f6. So Kasparov clears f6 square, and that is also a fork if bishop don't capture. So in the game, bishop takes d7 has been played, and now queen to f6 check. The queen enters the square that the knight cleared. Black resigned. Point is very simple. If king goes to e8, that is simply checkmate with knight g7, and if king goes to g8, that is also checkmate on queen to g7. The lesson is important. Do not only ask, where can my attacking piece go? Ask, which of my own pieces is blocking my strongest piece? Here, the knight moves away, so the queen can enter with check. That is clearance. If you're serious about improving and want structured training instead of random puzzles, I work with students personally. The link to train with me is in description. Now, let's continue. Position 4, it's white to play. This one is easy to miss because the move is a queen sacrifice. This came from Mikhail Tal versus Bruno from Blood 1961. Tal was one of the greatest attacking players in chess history, and his games are full of moves that look impossible at first. And here, the move is queen to f5, simply sacrificing the queen. At first, this looks insane. White sacrifices the queen, but queen was standing on e6. And White's knight on g5 wants to jump on e6 with check and simply fork the king and queen. So Tal clears the e6 square. And here, black simply resigned the game. Point is very simple. It doesn't matter if he takes with the pawn or with the rook. The move what white is gonna play is knight e6. That is a fork on the king and queen. This is one of the most important questions to ask after any sacrifice. What square did that jump just clear? If you only look at the captured material, you miss the tactic. But if you look at the cleared square, the move makes sense. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 5, it's white to play. Find the rook move that clears the way for white to win black's knight. Pause the video here. This came from Veselin Topalov versus Peter Leko from Linares 2006. Topalov was world champion around this period, and Leko was one of the hardest players in the world to beat. And in this position, Peter played rook to e2. This is not a flashy sacrifice, but it is still clearance. White's rook was on e8. From e8, the rook cannot attack the knight on b2. So White clears the 8th rank and transfers the rook on the second rank. And now the rook is attacking the knight. And why does white need that e8 square? White needs the e8 square to poke the king and rook. And now white has made a two different threats which black cannot avoid. And here in the game, black played rook to d1 and white simply wins the knight. This is a harder example because there is no immediate checkmate. There is no queen sacrifice, there is no promotion. It's a quite clearance idea in an endgame. The rook moves away from one line so it can use the another line. That's why clearance is not only an attacking tactic, it can also be an endgame tactic. Now, let's go to the next one. Final position, it's fight to play. This is the hardest one in the episode because the clearance happens inside forcing sequence. This came from Fischer versus Samuel from 1970. Fischer was famous for making complicated tactics looks logical. And here, black has just played e5. Fischer continued the game with queen g3, just pinning the pawn to the queen. And the point is, if black tries to play e takes d4, black already lost a game because of bishop f4, which wins the queen. So that is why black has to be very careful. When black played knight takes d4, attacking the rook, and here Fischer simply defended the rook with rook e3 and now e4. And this position was the hardest one because of this move. And in this position, Fischer played rook takes e4. At first, this looks impossible. Black can take white's queen, and black does that. Black played queen takes g3. And black is thinking that whenever the white will capture the queen back with f pawn or h pawn, he will simply win the rook, and that's completely winning for black. But unfortunately, here Fischer played rook takes d4. This is the point. White's rook become active on the 4th rank. And now black's queen is almost trapped. If you see bishop pair complemented by the pawns and the rook. So if he likes, he can go back on the same diagonal. But eventually he will lose the queen because of bishop f4. So the queen is trapped. So he tried queen g4, giving up a queen in this way. But now comes rook takes d4. This is the point. Bishop takes d4 and then simple bishop takes g6. After the sequence, white has removed black's activity and reaches a winning position. Clearance idea here is more advanced. White allows the queen to be taken because the rook gets access to the 4th rank. The rook clears and uses the rank to attack black's queen and pieces. Beginner players usually stop calculating after my queen is attacked, but stronger players ask, if my queen is taken, what does my other piece get? Here, Fischer's rook gets everything. That's why this is the hardest position in the episode. It is not one simple cleared square, it's a clear sequence. So that's clearance. The practical lesson is simple. Sometimes your own piece is blocking the winning move. When you see a queen waiting to enter, pawn ready to promote, a knight fork waiting to happen, or a rook needing an open line, always check for clearance. Move the blocking piece. Sacrifice it if needed. Open the square, file, rank, or diagonal. That one cleared square can decide the whole game. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more practical chess tactics and comment which position was the hardest and tell me what move you found before I revealed it. I will see you in the next one.